short because they knew you had to keep that lighter up the whole time. 7:36. Good morning. Let's go back in again here with Public Auditor BJ Cruz. Good morning, BJ.
Good morning, Chris.
Thank you for wearing pink today. I don't know if you just wear pink just because, but it's Think Pink Day, so we're all wearing our pink too.
I watched the news last night. You reminded me.
There you go. So thanks. You guys had a busy day in training yesterday, right? You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, yesterday we had a panel discussion with a representative of the GAO, representative from the Office of the Inspector General from the Department of Interior, and I guess it's the public auditor of Colorado and her deputy. And they talked about what's happening during this period and the auditing and the difficulty of auditing the COVID money. I had requested this training from APIPA, which is an organization that we belong to, and Department of Interior through their graduate school put this training on. It was really excellent because I was able to hear from Department of Interior some really excellent ideas. They were really concerned about the fact that they had literally hundreds of billions of dollars going through their agency, and they didn't want to have to face the prescriptive action next year when they find out that there were misuse of funds and they have to collect it. So what they decided that they were going to do was they issued flash reports, which didn't have to comply with all the GAO requirements, the yellow book or the blue book or the green book. It was just advisories out to the agencies and everybody receiving the funds. Be careful, don't do this, don't do that, be careful about this. And the reason for that was the person from GAO was mentioning that when the Congress passed the bill initially, it really had no guidance in it. And ever since about middle May, they've started to have, Department of Treasury has been issuing these guidances. And the guidance has changed almost every other week. I mean, there's been new things that they've added. And so besides learning about the flash reports, I thought the excellent idea that also came out of the meeting was to advise the departments that when you make a decision to spend some money on COVID, make sure that you attach the most recent guidance and whatever you use as the basis for your expenditure to that expenditure, so that when it's audited next year, that they'll go, that's not a approved expenditure, and you can pull up and say, this guidance that was issued by Treasury in April said this was okay, or this guidance said that it didn't say that I couldn't do it, and so I did it until you guys issued this other one that said that I couldn't, but at the time that I did, it was okay. So, but everybody was concerned about the fact that, there's literally billions of dollars floating around all over the place, and trying to make sure that it's properly accounted for later. And I really love this one analogy that one of the speakers brought up. It said budgeting is like looking in the out of the car through the front windshield. But budgeting is looking out the window. Auditing is what happens in the car as it's moving, and accounting is what happens in the car. Auditing is what happens looking out the rear window. And the problem that we're having now is trying to move the car, looking out the back window and the front window at the same time, and trying to say, trying to figure out how to maneuver both. And so it was a really good conference. We learned a lot, and it gave me some basis upon which I can talk to the administration when when we have some conferences with them over the next couple of weeks.
Do you have an idea of just overall the amount of federal funding and assistance Guam has received for COVID response? Really, all we've ever heard about is the 117 million in CARES Act funding.
Well, that's the CARES went to the governor's office itself, and that's to be spent at her discretion, but with all the guidances that have been issued. There's a huge amount of money. I think Department of Labor at one point said that they've been allotted about a little over 900 million to handle the poor funds, and the economic. Then there was the $1,200 that went to everybody, and then there was the payroll protection plan. I think at one point the report was saying we could get as much as 1.3 to 1.6 billion dollars could come to Guam by the end of the year under the March CARES Act.
Right on.
Hello.
So is there anything, any of the auditors, there been any of the spending with the CARES Act funding that you've seen in the, media reports that you know about that is questionable to you, or is it too early to tell?
No. What we're concerned about is we want to have internal controls that, like the $118 million, initially there was that budget that the governor sent to the legislature and said, this is how we're planning on spending it. But they really haven't spent all that money. I think there was a report in the paper the other day that of that 118, that they probably spent a little over 40, and they have a little over 60 left still to spend. And they're constantly changing because they're getting new ideas from the guidances that are coming out, and the frequently asked questions that are coming out. And now that we're going through this possibly second wave, there's going to be a lot of expenditures during this period to try to address that. I mean, the amount of money that they're going to have to spend for like the COVID hotels, for all the isolation facilities that they're having to get together, to stand up. If they continue to go out and they find hundreds and hundreds and hundreds more that can't be quarantined or isolated at home, then they're going to have, get up another hotel to put them in so they can monitor them and keep them separated so they don't spread it to others. But more importantly, I think when they're in the isolation hotels, that the good thing there is that they get monitored fairly frequently, so that we don't have what's happened over the last week where people are arriving at the hospital and the very same day they're passing away because they've gotten to the hospital too late. So they're going to have to be doing a lot of new things, and maybe even expanding this rapid engagement team that's going out to try to figure out how to tamp down this spread, because it really is frightening.
Yeah.
The numbers, and I really don't think that they have control of it. They're going to have to spend a lot more money on that, which means there's probably going to be need for more PPE, and the hospitals are going to have to try to get it together to try to figure out what they're doing about what other equipment they need, whether or not they need more ventilators. Because now we're seeing that there's people at GRMC that are in isolation, in ICU, and even at the Naval Hospital. So I'm not sure if all the ventilator machines went to GMH, and they need to get some of these out there to some of the others to assist in taking care of these patients as the numbers go up. But we really have to figure out some way to stop this.
BJ, we're talking about millions upon millions of dollars. As you guys prepare to commence this audit, do you really have the amount of staff, the manpower to do this?
No, I don't. But the other thing that I learned yesterday from the Colorado office, and even the Office of the Inspector General in Washington, D.C., was that both of their offices, the Colorado office, if I remember correctly, when she was here and she spoke at a conference a couple of years ago, she said she had a staff of like 125. I have a staff of 10. She has a staff for 125, but she was mentioning that she's contracting out to some audit firms certain things that they can't logistically do in their offices while they're doing it. And the Office of the Inspector General, the representative from there that we spoke yesterday, made mention also of the fact that they're contracting some of their stuff out to other offices, and they have a huge operation at DOI. So one of the things that I'm going to be discussing with my staff is the possibility that we may need to do some contracting with some of the auditing firms outside to assist in looking at some of the big programs, because we don't have the capability to be able to do the audit of Department of Labor. That 900 million is going to have a huge data analytics program to go into their system and do the random checking of everything. We don't have that at our office. I've been hoping to get it, but we haven't purchased it yet. I know that a couple of the auditing firms outside do have the program to do the in-depth data analytics, to do the deep dive into the spending. So we may need to contract some of that out when we get to it. But right now we're just trying to figure out how we're supposed to spend the money. Yesterday morning, before we started the conference, I opened up my email, and there was another guidance from the Department of Treasury, 15 pages of frequently asked questions and how you're supposed to deal with it. But those keep coming out every 2 or 3 weeks.
Right. Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, BJ, definitely sounds like you got your work cut out for you, and we'll catch up with you as this process gets further along. Hey, but we've had Ray Toposny on last couple of times, and man, he's been talking about you, saying some things.
Thank you.
No mas. And that's BJ Cruz holding his tongue. Rare sight. Take a picture, everyone. Public auditor, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you for your time.
And we have virtual corned beef fried rice. I don't know what kind of diet you're on there, but it's virtual. It's vegan. It's low to no calories. Individually wrapped and sanitized to go. So grab some on your way out.
On keto, I finally fit back into my shirt. I tried this on in February, and
well, I can't say the same, because I had to find my pink shirt. I had to go into closet B. to get my pink shirt, and I was like, "Whoa, what happened? I thought I had lost some inches."
You look good, Speaker.
Thank you.
All right. Stay safe.
Okay.
We'll try.
We'll see you. Wash your hands. 7:50. We'll take a really quick break, and we're coming back with husband and wife, Marty and Benny.